Joining us right now on Texans Radio, it's head coach David Culley. Coach, a lot to cover following what happened against the Colts and getting ready for the Cardinals. Let's start here. You have 3 of your 5 starting offensive linemen out. I know you're going to go with who you've got. And you ran the ball best you did since opening day. Let's start there because that's something you might be able to build on.
Well, there's no question about that. That's who we are, Mark. I mean, going into the game, we realized that we needed to be able to do that. We haven't done it consistently to this point. I thought our offensive line, those guys that filled in, did an excellent job of doing that. They got our backs to the line of scrimmage. Our backs did a nice job of being able to take advantage of that. We had some nice big runs, which we hadn't had this year with Marc and Phillip and David. And so that's encouraging for us because that will enable us moving forward to be able to control the ball, which we did yesterday. Unfortunately, we didn't take care of the ball like we needed to take care of the ball. But that's who we are, and that's moving forward. That's going to help us become more consistent in being an offense that be able to get in the end zone.
Coach, you've been around some really great receivers in your career, and now you've got one in Brandon Cooks. What do you see in him that makes him the player that he is?
His consistency. Brandon comes to work every day. He works at his craft every day. I mentioned to y'all last week we were talking about a guy that I recruited, Terrell Owens, who I felt like was as good a practice player as I've ever been around. Brandon Cooks is right in there. I mean, he comes to work. He knows his job. He's very skilled at what he does. He's not only just a heck of a receiver, but he does in the run game all the little things. And he always plays big. And what I'm saying there is that when that ball is up in the air, he's not a very big guy playing the position, but he plays big and he plays consistent. And he plays the game the right way all the time. And as long as he continues to do that, our young guys see how it's supposed to be done. And that's going to help the guys coming along to be the kind of player that he is. And he's been a tremendous, consistent player for us.
Yeah, after the game, he talked about discipline. And you're talking about the way he is on the field, the player he is, but also off the field. Is that a model for who you want your players to be by and large, Coach?
Mark, that is an example of the best model that you want. I mean, when he goes home, obviously he's got a family there, but he also takes this home with him to be able to, when he comes back, to be able to, the things that we put in, the new things that we do, as far as being the best at what we wanted him to be, he does a great job of doing that. And he's also, with him doing that, with our young guys, I've seen him come up to him all the time and says, what do you do when you go home, other than take care of your family? He says, I get my iPad out. I look at things that I've done not correctly, correct them. I see the game plan. I hit the game plan. So when I come in the next day, I'm ahead of the schedule. I kind of know what's getting ready to go on, and I'm able to retain things better. I'm able to do what I need to do and play at a consistent level to be able to help us win football games.
As a coach, how important is it to have those coaches off the field? Because obviously there's only so much you can do as head coach. There's only so much your staff can do. How important is it to have guys like Brandon Cooks that carry your message throughout the entire locker room, and hopefully it filters through to the younger guys and the other guys in the locker room?
Well, the biggest thing about that is you talk about the younger guys, not just the younger guys at the receiver position, but the younger guys at other positions.
Right.
And then we have other guys other than Brandon at other positions that do that same thing. And that is so important in getting the young guys to develop quicker and faster and to understand that the NFL game is completely different than where they came from in a college environment. I mean, it is all football here. And when I say all football, it's all football all the time.
Right.
When they leave the building, when they come back in the building, and when you want to be that consistent player and that player in this league that can go out and consistently do the job, you have to do those kind of things. And when you got players like that on your football team, that just makes it much better in those guys learning how to be a pro.
Coach, how hard is it to manage things with a rookie quarterback? You've been around rookie quarterbacks before, and it feels like we'll get on this kind of roll with the ball moving well and everything's flowing, and then you'll have a mistake because he's a rookie. So how do you handle that? How do you manage the whole team when you have a rookie out there and there's going to be some ebb and flow?
We understand that there's growing pains, and he's gone through those. He's gone through those in a positive manner, and he's gone through those in a negative manner. And that, what I'm saying is that when he is doing things the right way and taking care of the football, we've been in every ball game that we've played in. When it hasn't happened, then what ends up happening is momentum gets changed. I give you an example of this past game. It's 10-3 at halftime. We come out in the second half. We knew we needed to get a stop. We got a stop. We felt like momentum was changed. Our offense went on the football field. We felt like right then that we could take it away from them. The first play from scrimmage, we throw an interception. And then from there, things kind of snowballed.
Right.
And so the point, though, is he knows that. We understand that. And in order for us to be successful, most important thing, and I've said this over and over again, he has to protect the football. And when he does, we have a chance to win football games.
I mentioned Brandon Cooks earlier, talking rookies, kind of put them all together about this next guy. Came back for the first time since week 2 against Cleveland, and that's Nico Collins. He has 4 catches, but it just seemed like there was something about watching him that he seemed like he had a lot of confidence. It wasn't catch the ball, go back to the receiver. I mean, he was kind of, I don't want to say feeling it, but what do you think of Nico yesterday? It just seems like he had a lot more confidence than he did even in the first 2 games.
Well, let me build on that by going back to what you just talked about Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks has been a great example for him.
Yeah.
When he's been injured, while he's been out, he's been in every meeting. He comes to practice. He does his rehab. He goes out there and he looks and he listens and he gets those mental reps. And although he hasn't had the physical reps that he's needed to be able to progress,
Yep.
he's had those mental reps because he's seen how Brandon and those guys operate. And when he came back out, it was like he hadn't been gone.
Yeah.
And obviously he's got a really good skill set. It was good to have him out there, and I look for him to continue to progress on that.
Tight ends got a little bit more involved yesterday, Coach. You had one called back with a hold penalty, but it seems like they're evolving as a more used weapon in your offense. Can you discuss that?
Well, that comes because of the way teams are starting to play us now. Obviously, you have to account for Brandon Cooks. Mm-hmm. And then when you do that, then obviously they're taking somebody out of the coverage to be able to take care of him. So you put guys in one-on-one type situations. And in Davis's case, with our tight end position, they're the first guys that's closest to him when we run a pass pattern. And basically, Tim has put our offense in a situation where obviously we know that people are going to take him away, and that the first thing you do is you go inside out, and the inside out starts with our tight ends, and we're starting to kind of get a few more completions out of that because of that, and hopefully that's going to continue to do that because they're going to still play Brandon the same way. And they did a good job of doing that.
Coach, when I think about our defense, I can't help but think of the Bills and the Colts, and I'll explain why. The Bills, when you looked at pretty much their entire defense, that group had been together for 4 or 5 years. You look at that Colts group yesterday, they've been together for probably 3 or 4 years. I know Buckner came last year, but they've at least, the majority of them, been together for 3 or 4 years. How much does continuity matter? I know we talk about defense. Oh, you run the ball, you go get the ball, okay, you just play hard over there, you'll be fine. But it feels like the teams that have continuity, that have been together for a while, are the ones that kind of can get through the rough spots. How much does that play into good defense, and how much do you look out there and go, man, if these guys have been together, maybe they could play this a little bit better? How do you look at the defensive side of the ball, and how much does continuity matter that we'll get as time goes on?
Well, you mentioned those 2 football teams that have had guys that have been there for a while. The good thing about continuity is you play off of each other.
Yeah.
You got a feel for how guys are going to play. You got a feel for when a guy's getting ready to do something or something that he sees, and you know that he's getting ready to do that, and you kind of cover for that.
Right.
And I think it's important that at this point we've played 6 ball games now, and we've had some different groups back there.
Yep.
But we're playing the same defense.
Yep.
We've just got to play it better, and I think as we move forward, those guys are starting to get a better feel for each other back there. They know each other, and basically once we get to the point where we feel like consistency, everybody's got a good feel for each other, you'll start to see that happen to where that you won't see the big plays happen. You'll see us getting off the field when we need to get off the field. We've had a couple of 3rd and longs yesterday that I felt like that we would normally have been getting off the field. We weren't able to get off the field. And I think moving forward, as we start to play together and correct those mistakes and read our keys and do the things we need to do, you'll start to see that to happen.
Kind of plays into my next question, which is you've been around a lot of teams, Coach, and you've seen adverse situations. And do we make too big a deal out of the psychology of all of it? Is it just about getting down and hunkering and correcting the mistakes? Or how do you address the way people might be feeling, the players might be feeling about what you're going through right now?
Well, you couldn't have said it better, Mark, when you say you hunker down.
Mm-hmm.
The psychology part of it, yeah, it's there because we're human. But the
Right.
bottom line is that when you come back to practice, you watch that video, you see what was wrong, and then in your mind, you know right now that if I get that corrected and I do what I need to be doing on this, then things are going to get better, and I'm going to be right in doing my job. And basically it goes back to what you said. You just got to hunker down. It has nothing to do with that psyche. It has something to do with let's go. Let's get this thing done right. And that's what we do. In this league, every week, win, lose, or draw, you go back and you forget what happened after that 24 hours and you move on to the next one. And when you move on to the next one, you got to leave those things that wasn't good behind you, get them corrected. And the only way to do that is, and I use that word you used again, is you got to hunker down to do that.
Speaking of hunkering down, I don't know how much you've had a chance to watch Arizona. I just think about the time, you've spent Baltimore, you spent here. When you play NFC teams in the other conference, is it tougher to get ready for them because you're just not as familiar with them? Because, in the AFC, look, we play, obviously, division games with the Colts, but we play the Patriots every stinking year. And you play these AFC teams all the time. So you have an opportunity to kind of get to know them a little bit. These NFC teams pop up, and you're like, man, we don't play the NFC West but every 4 years. Does that make it more difficult to get ready for a team like this, especially as good as it is?
Well, it's not so much as so difficult, but the familiarity is there when you're in the AFC.
Yeah.
Because you see them more often.
Right.
But the bottom line is that we've got all the video. We got just as much time to prepare for them as we do for the other team in the AFC, in our division. And basically you just look at them and you look at them as any other team. And then by the time we get to the end of the game plan and we're getting ready to go on Wednesday to be able to put in our game plan, you're ready to go with it. Now, in the case of players, a lot of those players that are there now, obviously we have familiarity with a couple of those guys there.
Yeah.
So, but the point there is it's about what they do scheme-wise, offensively, defensively, and special teams, and not so much about who's there and what they are. And basically we look at it from team to team, from week to week, and we prepare as such.
Well, you've been around Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Now you have Kyler Murray here that you're facing this week, and he has those extra dimensions, can make plays with his feet, keeps the eyes downfield when he's scrambling. What about facing him, Coach?
Well, when you face people like that, and you've got to be able to be right where you're supposed to be. You got to be able to know your keys. You got to be able to have eyes on him at all times.
Right.
And there's one thing about him too. He's not just a runner when he gets out of that pocket. He's looking downfield first to throw that thing. And we use a term when guys get out of the pocket with our secondary and our linebackers is that when quarterbacks get outside of that pocket, the one thing you better do is they go into a scramble mode. You better plaster those wide receivers. But while you plastering them, if you're not plastering somebody, your eyes better be on that quarterback. Because when you play guys like this, they can get you with their feet as well as their arm.
Along those lines, Coach, feet as well as their arm. I don't know when it happened, but I know it has happened, and that is the quarterback position. You look at around the league, guys that can move and how much more difficult that makes it on the defense to stick to their keys, to plaster their receivers, because you do have Kyler Murray running with the ball. Is he going to throw it? Is he going to run it? You have Lamar doing those kind of things. Patrick Mahomes, even though he's not the best runner, he's going to get out of the pocket and force difficulties for the defense because he can't move. The sea change at quarterback, how have you kind of seen that over the years? And obviously you got a chance to see one up close for a few years in Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. Are we completely going that way with the quarterback in the NFL, that those are the guys? I mean, there's still the Matt Staffords, and obviously Davis can still sling it from the pocket, but are we moving more towards those are the guys that we're going to see more of, guys that have got those true dual threats like a Josh Allen in Buffalo?
Well, I think there are guys coming out of college right now. Those are the kind of guys that are coming out right now because of what they do offensively.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys have those athletic type guys that have great feet as well as great arms. And I think it's just a trend where, if that guy is that kind of guy and he fits what you want to do in this league, the one thing about a defensive coordinator in this league that they don't ever want to happen is you can have everybody covered defensively. And the one guy that you don't have covered and accounted for is the quarterback.
Right.
And when he is a threat with his feet, that is tough duty. And what happens is when you play guys like that, sometimes you got to basically go one-on-one and put somebody as a spy or as a robber on that particular guy. And that's what changes the game right now for people on defense.
What were you, Coach, in college? Did you scramble a lot? Were you a pocket passer? How did you handle it?
I was a dual threat before there was dual threats because that was back in the 70s, in the late 70s.
Right.
And they wasn't calling us dual quarterbacks at that time because there wasn't a bunch of them. But I am going to say this. I was one of those guys. Now, let me say this, too. I wasn't no Kyler Murray, no Josh Allen, and no Tyrod Taylor. But I was a dual quarterback before there was dual quarterbacks.
Well, I mean, there you were at Vanderbilt, and what kind of offense were you guys running at that time?
We ran a veer type offense where you know that because the dual threat deal, you know. Matter of fact, you remember here at the University of Houston with Coach Yeoman,
right,
during the deal with the type of quarterbacks he had. He had those type of quarterbacks when they were successful here.
But then a few years after that, Coach Mac comes in and he's slinging it all over the place. He was one of the first coaches to do that.
He was, you know, and again, that's just a philosophical thing.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I just do know this from defensively, when you got those guys that can sling it and use their feet, it becomes a tough thing for the defense.
What would you have wanted to do? You look at the offenses that are now and you see all these different, you know, obviously Cliff's doing something different than what Daboll's doing up in Buffalo, than what Timmy's doing here. What offense would you want it to have run? What would you want it to have played?
Well, it depends on your personnel.
No, you.
Oh, what I would want?
Yeah, you.
Oh, as a quarterback, you want to sling that thing all over the place as a quarterback. But I know this, in the NFL, time in and time out and consistently, you have to be able to, when you're a playoff-type team, you have to be able to run the football.
True. Yeah.
And you have to be able to do that not only in playoffs but in bad weather places. You know, you just can't do that, I don't believe, consistently. And I would want to always have that opportunity and that offense to where that you're always got to be defended, the run and the pass game.
Coach, how do you handle practice this time of year? Because here you are 6 weeks into the regular season. You had 3 preseason games, so 6 weeks of camp. So you're 12 weeks in since you reported and all the physical work. Do you lighten the load a bit? How do you handle it now that we're deep into the season?
Well, for us, obviously after our Carolina game, we had those 3 games within about less than 2 weeks. And so that's a grind. And then now we've gone a road game to Indianapolis, a tough physical road game, divisional game, to going out west to play another road game. That's just part of the makeup of you have to deal with that. As far as being able to making sure that we're fresh and that we're ready to go, you know, our sports performance people have great data that lets us know exactly where we are from the standpoint of our stamina and our peak and being in shape. And we basically take that data and look at it, and if at this point, if we feel like we need to back off, you back off, and if not, then you keep moving forward.
Coach, this is a tough stretch. The fact that after the Patriots game, road Indy, road Arizona, do come home for a game, but then it's road game Miami, bye, then road game Tennessee. When you have that many road games, how much does that kind of tack on to the exhaustion phase of it with just the travel, all those different places we got to go?
Well, this is how we look at it. And we'll look at it, we started this way from day one, and we're going to do it moving forward. The only thing that matters is the next game. And we don't look past that next game. And basically, when you're in the situation we're in right now, all we want to do is get back in the win column. Yeah. And the only way to do that is to concentrate and focus on the next opponent. And from that point on, we'll take it from there.
Coach, I want to get back to the offensive line. I know I began the conversation that way, but I thought it was notable. You give up only 2 sacks. You throw it 43 times with Mills. You run it, as we said, better than you have since opening day. What about the way these guys played with McCray at center, and you got Christian and Charlie playing tackle? What about their performance up front, the big guys?
I thought they played very well. They gave us a chance. Again, as I said, if we take care of the ball and we eliminate the big plays, then it's a whole different thing offensively, especially going into the second half, because they gave us a chance. And as long as they're doing that, and as long as they continue to do that, we've got that next man mentality. The guy goes down, the next guy comes up, he comes in and he gets it done. And those guys have done a really good job for us of moving forward. And I look forward to moving forward with them.
Coach, I don't know, numerically, like some things you come up with various goals for your offense, your defense, you want to take it away twice or whatever it is. I would imagine that you go into each game and you think, third downs, we've got to be very successful. Boy, it would be really good if we were 50% on third downs. Yesterday, you were 9 of 17. I can't do the math that fast in my head, but that's a really good percent. I think it's like 57, 58. 53, close enough.
Mm-hmm.
Your 53% conversion rate on third down yesterday, but yet you only had 3 points. It's kind of an odd way to look about it, but your third down, you were very, very effective on third down. What was the key there?
Well, the key there was that we stayed in third and manageable.
Yeah.
For the most part. But to eschew that, the point was when you don't take care of the ball, you eliminate opportunities. You put the other team in a position to score, and you take away momentum. And obviously when we did have the ball and we did take care of the ball, we were very good in that particular situation. But those numbers really doesn't matter when you don't take care of the ball. Not only that, we had the possession. We won the possession game yesterday.
Yeah.
And basically normally when you do that, you feel like you're in pretty good shape of being able to get points and score. But not taking care of the ball was a big issue.
All right, let's get to the Amegy Bank Ask Coach question of the week. And, Coach, this week it's about youth sports. First of all, should kids play more than one sport when they're growing up? If they're really good at football, really good at baseball, we see a lot of kids specialize. I know a lot of kids who play baseball year-round. They're like pros. They play more than major leaguers, it seems. What are your thoughts on that kind of thing? And then there's one about getting into coaching, but go ahead.
That's a really good one. I've been asked that one before from parents, especially when I was coaching in college. And I'll say this, not because I was one of those athletes that did that. I played every sport that I could play. And every sport that I played, when the season was over, having played that sport helped me in the next sport that I was going to. Because there are carryover, and there is some common things about it. And I believe 100% that the more you can participate in, the better off you will be in becoming the best that you could be. At some point, you're going to decide that I want to play baseball, I want to play basketball, I want to play football. But as a youngster growing up, and soccer wasn't very big when I was coming up. But I think one of the best things that kids do today is you play soccer, you learn so much about developing hand-eye coordination in playing soccer, which relates to basketball, baseball, and football. But I'm a big proponent of play as many sports as you can and be as good as you can in those. And at some point, you're going to decide this is what I feel good about. But I feel 100% about playing as much as you can play.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Marc still thinks I play basketball like I play football. So, I mean, there definitely is a carryover. Had you not played football in college, would you have played any of the other sports? Did you want to play another sport?
Well, I'd have played another sport, basketball, because and if I played basketball, I don't know if they'd have kept me on the team, because in basketball, the only thing I wanted to do was shoot. I mean, all I wanted to do was shoot. I mean, Marc, you understand where I'm coming from.
That's Marc.
But let me tell you why I wanted to shoot. Because I felt like I was a shooter. I go back. When I was in Philadelphia, and they had some really good basketball teams up there, and they had a guy coming off the bench. I can't think of his name right now, but when he came off the bench for one reason, and that was to shoot.
He was firing,
He was firing it, and that's me. Although I would want to be playing all the time to do that, but no, I mean basketball. I love playing basketball. I also played a little baseball. I was a pitcher in baseball, and I realized then that my fastball wasn't fast enough to stay that way. So football became my thing.
All right, and one more here, Coach. Getting into coaching, what do you recommend for college students or whatever who are considering coaching as a career? I know there are a lot of different ways you can go with this, but what stands out to you about choosing that as a path?
Understand what coaching is. Coaching, you have to have a passion for wanting to do that. That's the first thing is. And the second thing is coaching is teaching. You have to be able to communicate whatever it is you want to coach and teach to those particular individuals. And not everybody can do that. You have to, first of all, you got to know what your job is. And I said job, but when you get into coaching, it's more than just a job. Because if it just becomes just a job with the sacrifices that you make when you do it, you have to want to do that, and you have to love to do that. But the one thing, the most beneficial thing about it when you get into it is that when you see those young men and those young women become better and better at what they do and take not only just the lessons that you're giving them from the sport that they're playing, but the life lessons that you get from athletics. is unbelievable. The team thing, the hard work, the discipline, all of those things. And I would recommend that if anyone wants to do that, just remember, it is about teaching. And it is about loving doing what you're doing and being able to communicate what you know to the person that you're teaching.
When did the coaching bug bite you? Because I look at coaching, because I know for me it happened the second day, because it was kind of one of those things. We went on the field and I'm watching all these guys run around and do things, and I had one kid and I kind of showed him how to do one thing, and it was like, whoa, I kind of like this. The bug struck. When did the coaching bug hit you?
It hit me when I realized that I wasn't good enough to play in the NFL. That's when it hit me, because I loved what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I knew after my sophomore year in college
that's what you were going to do.
It was what I was going to do. And this is what I was going to do. My goal coming out of college, very simple. I haven't been able to do it yet. You would think right now this is the ultimate goal, being a head coach in the NFL. My goal coming out of was I wanted to go back to my high school and be an assistant coach for the guy that coached me, because I had so much respect for the way he did me, the things that he taught me, and I wanted to go do that. And whenever he retired, I wanted to be able to take over. And I've never been able to do that again. But I'm going to say this. I told them, they honored me not long ago back at my high school, and they remembered me saying that. And I was told that any time that I feel like I want to come back and help and coach at that high school, I'm more than welcome.
You might be able to volunteer. You never know.
Exactly right. Exactly
Save on the budget.
Well, that's right.
Coach, thanks a lot for joining us. Good
You're
luck
welcome.
this week.
Thank you very much, both of you.